When you figure out your target audience and you only talk to them, they feel served and they feel taken care of. Whoever your target audience is, you need to create a world where they know that they're going to come to you and you're going to hold them.
Are you a classically trained violinist dreaming of stepping out of the orchestra and into the spotlight, but maybe the world of solo gigs feels intimidating? You're not alone. Welcome to the Glam Violinist, the podcast that empowers classically trained musicians to build thriving careers as sought-after entertainers. I'm your host, Celeste V, and each week we'll break down the secrets to getting the gigs you've been dreaming of. Get ready to unleash your inner rock star and turn your passion into a paycheck. Let's get glamorous. Thank you so much for joining the podcast today, everybody. I'm super excited to have Ariella here joining us. Ariella and I have been friends for years and I call her my business buddy because we bounce things off of each other all the time. Ariella grew up in the US, moved to Israel. I'm going to let her share a little bit more about her story. She comes from a very classical background, but now plays so many different styles and has really kind of discovered her own brand, her own niche, and a real calling for what she does. And she's such an inspiration to so many people out already. As a matter of fact, I'm sure many of you have already heard of her. If not, make sure you go follow her before this podcast is over. But she is just such a ray of sunshine and such a light in our world. And I'm really excited. She's not going to be here just one time. This is going to be a recurring theme. You're going to get to know and love this face as much as I do. So without further ado, Ariella, welcome to the Glam Violinist podcast.
Celeste, I loved that intro. That was great. Thank you so much. Wow.
So tell us a little bit about your story, your background, what got you to where you are today, just so people kind of understand where you're coming from.
All right, so I have a very classical background. My grandfather was the head of the string department at the Eastman School of Music. So I started the violin when I was about 7, and I had about 2 years before he found out that I was learning violin, that I was learning with a Suzuki teacher. And then when I was about 9, he found out. I played for him for the first time, and then he took over my whole entire life. So I became, anyways, I was obsessed. I'm not a child prodigy. He was a child prodigy. He has a fascinating story, but I'll tell you about it another time. And I'm not a child prodigy, but I loved the violin. I'm very kinesthetic and I love touching things. And like the fact that the violin is small and huggable has always been so such a part of me. And I think that one of the things that, when I was in this very, very classical environment, a lot of anxiety ended up, kind of coming up. I had really bad performance anxiety. By the time that I was in, my bachelor's degree program and master's degree, I was really suffering from really bad performance anxiety. And because it's all about perfectionism, right? It's all about perfectionism in those environments. And because of my performance anxiety, I really suffered when I would go to audition. I went to audition to Jerusalem Symphony. Now, the thing is that when I would not be in my performance anxiety zone, I was one of the best, right? So if I was playing in the trio, I had a trio and we won all these awards. But it was always, when I would play solo, I would forget things and my hands would shake and I would sweat and everything would kind of fall apart, which is very funny because people look at me and they say, Ariella, you seem like such a natural performer, right? So that's such a funny thing. But when I finished my degree, and I left kind of the classical music world, that's when I kind of realized that, that it's the environment that was causing that anxiety. So once I got out of that world and I was able to kind of explore other genres and start working on other things, that was when, I was able to really work through that performance anxiety stuff, which I think is kind of the beginning of the really interesting part of my story with performing. No, it is because once I kind of was kicked out almost of the classical world, then I had to discover how can I make money from what I do? And what I discovered was that I love, and we've had this conversation a bunch of times, because I love connecting with an audience. I
Mm-hmm.
love social media. I love being online. I love talking about everything that I'm going through. I love sharing.
One of the things that makes us so different, and
Oh
one of
my
the
God,
few
we're
things.
so different. But I discovered that I loved it. And I've been doing things online for like the past 8, 9 years. My very first thing was that I was doing video lessons of how to play pop songs, and it was just right out. And it's very funny. It was because when you leave that classical world, the things that you think are cool, other people do not think are cool. Like I made this, very fancy polyphonic, like wow arrangement of some Justin Bieber song. And I was like, why is this not viral? Like there was a part of me that my ego also needed to break. Like I needed to get over that kind of egotistical, really the classical music world is very egotistical. It's very me focused. And I think that that's also something that's really important for your people who are listening, is that anybody who's starting out a business, you can't be in a business and ego focused. You always need to be focusing on what are you providing to the audience, because otherwise they're going to look and they're like, okay, there's a million amazing musicians. There's so many amazing violinists. You and I know that. We're like, okay, there's billions of people who are mind-blowingly amazing, and they're sitting at
Mm-hmm.
home and they're not
Yep.
working. Nobody's hiring them because nobody wants an amazing person. They want somebody who's going to understand them, who's going to work with them,
Yes.
who they
Somebody they
feel
can
they
relate
connect
to,
to.
somebody who they can connect with,
Yeah,
somebody who is fun to be around, not just a great musician. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
And then part of like the next kind of stage of my journey was that I crowdfunded for my first album. I had a successful crowdfunding campaign. I raised $20,000, and then I kept doing this kind of performing and doing events. And then I started feeling like that was kind of small on me and I needed to grow. And I started doing concerts because I started getting really into mindset and like, why does our brain do certain something things? And how does fear play into things? And how is fear controlling us? And why do we feel safe in certain environments and not safe in certain environments? And why do I
Yeah.
sometimes feel safe to perform and sometimes not feel safe to perform, which kind of ties back to the whole performance anxiety stuff. It's
Yeah.
very connected. I'm very into like mindset and how it's all like kind of comes together. And then, so then last year I premiered this mind-blowingly amazing show, which I spent a year working on, called "1,000 Faces of a Hero," and that is like us. That's basically it's a really cool show that I created for. It's a family show that I created for all ages. It kind of aimed at that like 10 to 15 age group, where all the songs are songs from movies. So there's this aspect of like it's universal. Everybody loves it. And then we talk about the stages of a journey in the hero's journey, which is like a storytelling archetype. And that kind of lit me on fire and made me realize that and that kind of lit me on fire and made me realize that my real passion, like are you frozen? Can you hear me?
No, I can hear you.
Oh, okay, fine. My real biggest passion right now, and it's evolving. My biggest passion is helping people tell their stories, and and I've had over the past year opportunities to help a lot of people. I live in a country where there's a lot of stuff happening, a lot of traumatic stuff, and I've done a lot of work with different people, helping them to tell their story, and
Yeah.
musicians, but also people who have been through sexual abuse and people who have been in jail and people who have different stories, and helping them to build that story out. And that's become one of my huge passions, is like building shows, building working with event planners and building shows for organizations that touch on the heart of their messaging. I did this huge show in February in the United States where I collaborated with a therapy center, because what did they want? They want people to come to therapy with them. So what I do, I took the Thousand Faces of a Hero concept and I kind of made them the hero, and I kind of made the same play based around them, and they were thrilled. They were thrilled. They're like, we have this show. There were 300 people in the audience, and every single one of them afterwards is walking out saying the word Serenity Center. Like they all know who we are, what we do, because I help brands to tell their story with my performances. So that's
So
become kind of the, yeah. That's just
Tell
become
us a little bit, sorry, about
yeah.
the show itself. Sorry to
Oh,
interrupt you. Like
yeah.
what does a show look like? Like for those of us who are or those of us who are not familiar with A Thousand Faces of a Hero, like what does it entail? Like it's not just you on a stage by yourself. Like
Right.
what all is in that show?
Okay, so first of all, it is mostly me. So I have now done it in schools and I've done it on different stages. It depends on the budget of the people that I'm working with. So they can just hire me. And then, for example, I've done it on a bunch of schools and I have all the backing tracks and I come in with backing tracks and there's like screens with animations and it's just the music is so fun and so great and the messages are so important. They're so
Mhm.
important because if somebody's listening right now to this interview and they're thinking, wow, she's amazing. She could do anything. She's like, I could never do that. I want to say that that's a big part of my message and my mission is that I really truly believe that anyone can do anything. I just shut down my teaching studio. I've been teaching for like the past 20 years and I kind of realized that my passion is not there anymore, but I also taught myself and taught my students and proved to myself that anybody can learn the violin. And that was what I needed to learn from that was that anybody can do this and anybody can do anything if they put their mind to it. And if they have a good coach and a good mentor and they work with people who are really like helping them and guiding them and cheering them on. So there we go.
That's
That's kind of
amazing.
everything that I'm up to. There you go.
So we were talking about how there's different ways to basically make a living with the violin, right? And
Right.
you are one of those who started out doing a lot of events like me and
Right.
really were focused on event entertainment and then realized that you really had a passion, a calling for something that was outside of that wasn't like really feeding your soul.
Right.
Although, you know, it paid well at times.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, and I still do it, and I still do it. I've niched down with my brides though, because I'm religious, right? You know that I'm an Orthodox Jew, and part of that is that when somebody gets married, right, you can have a wedding that for somebody who's it's not. Some people get married just kind of as a technical thing, or I just want a wedding, or it's the most important. I just want to dress up. And for me, I really only I try to only work with brides who this is a very meaningful moment that they want to make it into a magical and meaningful moment. Like they want to find ways to add more meaning to their event. That's kind of where, I really try when I work with my clients to only work with people who are on that. And I'm really working on my messaging right now, honestly, in order
I was going
that
to say,
that is the type of person
how
that,
do you find that out during your discovery process if they're a good match for you? I mean, I love that you're at the place where you can do that, where you don't have to just
right,
say yes to every inquiry, right?
right.
So how do you go about discovering if they are the right client for you?
So first of all, it's a lot of the messaging that I use on my website, on my Instagram, on my Facebook. The people who are coming to me are obsessed with me. And I'm not saying because like I have like some kind of big ego, but they're not obsessed in the way that they're obsessed with me and like but like they're obsessed with me in that they are super aligned with all the other things that come in with my brand. So I've been going live once a week and I do these classes that are connected to mindset and to how can we level up as humans and what should we focus on this week. And I try to do that every week. I'm doing that every single Tuesday. And the people who are tuning into my lives are the same people who are hiring me for their weddings or they're hiring me for their kids' weddings. These are the people that I want to attract in my life. And because those are the type of people that I want to attract in my life, that's the language that I use also on my website and also when I talk on my Instagram. You're attracting people because I know I have like what's called a client avatar. I have this,
Hmm.
this
So
woman
important.
and this is who I talk to on my Instagram, on my website, this person, so that when, by the way, and then I get messages and they're like, I read your post and I feel like you were talking directly to me. I'm like, hallelujah. That's exactly what I want. That's
That's
exactly
so
what I want you
powerful.
to feel like. Yeah, it's amazing.
That is
So
just so
that's how you do
powerful.
it is that you start with the client avatar. But I think that also if somebody's listening and you're feeling overwhelmed, that you should know that the only reason I'm able to do this is because I hired a coach who helped me do it. I think that if you're looking for somebody, if you're looking to level up in terms of your messaging, or you're looking to really sharpen it, or you know that you're meant for more, or you feel like I'm stuck in where I am and I want more, look for somebody to help guide you through that next step. Right. And
Yes,
Celeste
absolutely.
also does this. This is what coaching is all about, is that you've been through something, you figured out how to make money from it. You now can help somebody else do that. So don't try to do it alone. I'm telling you, you're going to
Yes.
save so much time, so much energy, so much money by hiring a coach. I can't even.
I can't agree more.
Yeah.
It's so true, because there again, like when you and I were figuring this out at the very beginning of our careers, it was really hard to find somebody who could kind of guide you, because we were figuring it out as we went, right?
Right.
But the more that we figure out, okay, this is what I want, but I don't know how to get there. Now it's so not easy, but there are coaches out there who have been there, been down that road, and know how to help you from where you're at, meet you where you're at, and then take you to that next level without you having to just kind of like throw spaghetti at the wall and figure out, well, let's try this, let's try social media, let's try, whatever you're doing, a new website. I'm going to try out every wedding platform out there.
I have a room full of equipment that I never touch. Never touch, because I needed to try how to use this effect pedal, and I needed to figure out how to use this thing, and I have boxes of t-shirts, and I have if I had just if I've wasted so much money, but I don't look at it as a waste. It's a learning process. There's always a process. There's always something involved. You should never ever be hard on yourself for decisions that you've made, even if they haven't made you money, which sometimes happens that you don't make money. Sometimes it happens that you have to invest in your career, and your first couple of gigs, you're still paying off the stuff that you needed in order to get those jobs. And the goal is always to make money, but sometimes it takes a little while.
It does. It doesn't happen overnight. Nothing about this business is an overnight success. Even if you go viral, like that does not guarantee that you're all of a sudden going to make money with your craft, right? It takes a large amount of dedication, but also being really intentional about who your target market is. And I love that you were talking about your client avatar, because that is so important for musicians, and that's something that we don't think about, right? We're just thinking,
we're not business people. That's not what we studied. We didn't study how to do marketing and business stuff, so we have to learn this on the way.
On the way, exactly. And learn from those who have embraced that business side. And it's not for everyone. Not everybody wants to be their own business manager, but you have to understand at least the basic principles of it, so that you can even know what to tell your business manager. Here's what I want to do. Here is my target client. Here is the audience that I want to reach. And that, if you don't know the basics, and you don't even know how to have that conversation with your coach or with your mentor. So that's incredible. I love talking to people like you who really get this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's also a choice, by the way. I want to just touch on this for a second, because as you were saying that, I was just thinking, there's two different things that we're always talking about. There's working in the business, and there's working on the business.
Yep.
And when you work, and by the way, and I have to say that my skills dramatically went down when I was really focused on the business, because I'm not practicing. I'm dealing with clients all the time. I have a master's degree from a classical university. That's my level. I was playing, Isaïe and Prokofiev and the Tchaikovsky Violin Concerto and whatever. I'm just saying, like, really intense classical pieces. And when I started really working, and I love the business side of all of this. I love it. So that happens to be something that I'm super passionate about learning more about, and always trying to sharpen my messaging. This is something that I'm super excited and passionate about. But I now have booked the biggest event of my life, which I'll tell you about in a second. But I realized I am not working enough in my business. So I changed my whole day schedule so I can fit in those 2 hours of practicing before I get to work on the business. Because if I don't practice those 2 hours, I can't provide the service that I am trained to provide. But now I'm spending all my time working on the business.
Yep.
So it's a
Yeah.
very important thing that somebody who's listening know that you have to keep up your skills. Sorry, you have to. I mean, you can coast, but you have to remember that you have to kind of keep a few balls in the air and prioritize those things that are going to keep you healthy. Like I mean, also in terms of your playing and also in terms of your body. So, but
Yeah.
I should say the word healthy. But yeah,
Tell us
so
about that concert you just booked.
okay, I want to say okay. So I also a lot of things that I've learned over the past 2 years are that what I decided to do starting in the January of this year was that I decided to really go all in on only creating content for this very specific client avatar who is a Jewish right, I'm Jewish, so I'm Israeli, a Jewish event planner who is planning events for Jewish communities. This is who I create content for. This is who I think about. These are the blocks that every time I put something out, I'm thinking about this particular person. On the way, I get other people. Thank God,
Sure.
like other people. But that's who I'm talking to. I'm talking to the person who's planning events for Jewish communities. And when I did that, when I changed that messaging, I started getting those event planners from Budapest and from Italy and from Dubai and from New York who were so excited to book me. And I was in Romania, the last place I was in Romania, and also here in Israel, people who are like, oh my gosh, this is what you do. This is who you talk to. These are you want to do. Who else talks to us? Who else is out there talking to us? Nobody is talking to us. I look out, I'm looking, who's talking to us? And I'm like, because I want to work with you. I want to create impactful experiences for your community. So now what's happening in September, it just fits into that in such a beautiful way that I like, it's so amazing. Basically, the Jewish community of Vienna does a huge concert every year, and I got her on the phone, and she wasn't even thinking about booking me for this concert. This concert is huge. There's gonna be 1,000 people in the audience. It's huge. And I get her on the phone, and I say to her, you know what I'm envisioning? I'm envisioning like a candlelight concert, like the lights low and 1,000 candles in the space. And I sold her on the vision of what I saw, and the whole concert is going to be prayers and songs. And I sold her on the vision and a vision of this. And she said, I wasn't even thinking about you for this concert. I wasn't even thinking about you for this concert. We were thinking about this other much bigger artist who's much more famous than you, but you know what? His team has been difficult for us to work with. And I'm really sold on this idea that you have of yours. Let me talk to my team and I'll get back to you. And I'm getting paid more than I've ever gotten paid in my life to perform. And I'm flying from Israel to Vienna with a team of 7 people to do this performance. And I'm working now like with this musical director and whatever. The whole thing, I'm just like, whoa. When you figure out your target audience and you only talk to them, they feel served and they feel taken care of. And this is something that Celeste, by the way, does so beautifully. Celeste talks to the Indian bride in the most beautiful way that she looks at Celeste stuff. I know other violinists who are wearing the sari and who are playing at Indian weddings, but Celeste is like, you talk to me, you work with me, I am going to take care of you. And what does that mean for a bride? A bride is like, you mean I can relax?
Yes.
You mean I can let
You
this
got this.
go? You mean I can rely on you? And what happens with a lot of women is that we're very nervous. Women specifically are very nervous about letting things go and letting someone else take care of our vision because we know exactly what we want. So,
Yes, and
I
building
want
that
to say
trust.
that to anyone who's listening, whoever your target audience is, you need to create a world where they know that they're going to come to you and you're going to hold them. They know that they can just rely on you. And that is what's going to, and when you come in service that way, and by the way, service can mean so many different things. This is, if you're a violinist or you're a musician and you have this talent, this is a God-given talent, by the way, even if you have the training, this is something that was given to you. The desire that's in your heart is God-given or universe given, whatever, you don't want to use the word God, but this is a gift that you were given in this body that you are in. And this is part of your mission in this world, is to use that to serve people. And like I said about the storytelling, and like I said about figuring out, like helping people figure this stuff out, this is my passion. This is what I love. Right? This is what I love doing. You have to figure out what you love doing as you try different things. And but also and then you have to figure out who is it that you're willing to carry.
Yeah. Ariella, I think you're doing some coaching now, aren't you? Can you tell us a little bit more about what that looks like to work with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically what I do with what I do with my with people who come to me is, number one is, like I said, that one of my expertises is helping people to craft their story. So, and I think that if you want to stand out, and essentially what you want is you want to be the one. You want to be the one that they're like, you need to work with this person. You need to, this is a person you need. Like, you want to become the person that everybody says, oh, she's the one. And for a lot, and I am the Jewish violinist. Like, it just, I mean, it kind of, and it's based off, a lot of the times it's based off of the community you come from and the culture you come from, because we all come from different communities and different cultures who are looking for different things, especially at milestone moments like weddings and, a christening or whatever, like special events they're planning. But so they're looking for somebody who knows their culture. So that's really, really important. It doesn't necessarily have to be someone from your culture, but just, like whatever. Just, we have to figure out who the story is, who you are. Because when I work with an artist, the most important thing for me is that they are so authentic and so genuine, and they've packaged it in a way that their client is like, oh my God, I need that.
Yeah.
That's what I help artists. That's what I help artists do. And and the only reason I know how to do that is because I learned how to do that from somebody else. And I do it specifically for artists because I've been through that process. So I know how to guide, and I also know the pitfalls of the process. Because a lot of us have a lot of the same issues with, with imposter syndrome and, and performance anxiety, and we've come from similar, backgrounds and all that.
Yep. Well, we could talk for hours, but I'm gonna wrap it up for today, and I'm gonna have to bring you back on the show to talk about some social media stuff that we've discussed before. We're gonna talk about how to find that niche in more detail. We're gonna talk about things like how to monetize different ways of making money besides just performances. There's so many things you and I could talk about, but we're gonna have to save it for another podcast. Before we wrap this up, I want you to tell people how they can connect with you, and I'll put it in the show notes also.
Okay, perfect. So I'm Ariella Zeitlin, music on every platform. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. That's my website. AriellaZeitlinmusic.com, or Facebook.com/AriellaZeitlinmusic, TikTok.com/AriellaZeitlinmusic. That's me everywhere. Zeitlin and Ariella with 2 L's.
All right, I'll put it in the show notes. Make sure you reach out to her if you're interested in the coaching, but also just go give her a follow, because she will inspire you and just really show a great example of how to hone in on your target audience. And she just is a ray of sunshine anyway. She's oh man, we'll have a whole nother conversation on mental health. That's such a powerful journey you've been through as well. Anyway, thank you again, Ariella, for being on the show today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
And to all of you out there who are listening or watching, thank you so much for listening to this podcast, this episode of The Glam Violinist. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like, share it with your friends, and be sure to hit me up if you have any questions for me. You can find me on Instagram at @TheCelesteV. And until next time, remember to target your client avatar and stay glamorous.